Dr. Swati Gupta is a finance academic and startup mentor with 18 plus years of global experience across universities and the industry. She brings deep expertise in corporate finance, ESG, and entrepreneurship. Her work focuses on bridging academic insights with real-world impact, promoting financial literacy, sustainable innovation, and inclusive economic development.
Right now, this panel, we are talking about the education, employment, and economics, which we often discuss as a kind of a separate domain. We have different ministries, different policies, even we have different stakeholders. So, in my experience as an academician, mentor, and a practitioner, has taught me that these three are not independent systems. Rather, they are very deeply interconnected parts of a single value chain. And to get into more, so I would be talking about how this particular three concepts is misaligned, the educational shift, employment, and economics separately discussing, and then coming into the conclusion and trying to identify the core discovery behind the same. And last, definitely the implication for the stakeholders in this particular era. So, without much delay, when we are talking about, when we are looking into the challenge, let me share with you a very simple observation which I have generally observed within my class as well. Um, uh, Students talk about like, ma'am, we have scored very well, but I don't know if I can survive my first job. So this concern is with every student who has good score. So that sentence, if you understand, captures the defining challenge of our time, that is misalignment. Education, employment, economies are no longer moving in a sync that we are trying to see. Each system is evolving, but not together they are involved. Graduates increasingly telling us that they feel very unprepared. Not unprepared when we talk about in the academic context, but definitely from the context of practicality. So I remember I have read somewhere in one of the book from Peter Drucker. He said that the best way to predict the future is to create it. So right now, however, we are preparing our students when we look into for a future that no longer exists. So this is not a failure of the students when we talk about. This is not even the failure of as me as an academician, as a teacher, or even the people who are listening, the employer friend as well in isolation. It is basically the system misalignment. That is what I want us to explore, what we need to understand, that there is a misalignment. Now, historically, when we see education worked like a very unreliable pipeline, where degrees lead to jobs, as you have just listened from one of the panelists who have shared how the historic perspective has come along. So, jobs lead to stability, skills remained relevant for decades. If we talk about universities, has always acted as a kind of a credentialing institute, and employers trusted those credentials. But today, that particular contract is broken. Graduates feel unprepared, employers speak of skill gaps, and economies demand the adaptability, not just the qualification that we are nowadays talking about. So that's why the students, when I have an interaction with my students, they often mention that the degrees get you the interview. When you talk about the qualification, it is just an entry point to get into the interview. You, what makes you employed is your adaptability, which keeps you employed, right? So the basic problem remains that there is a disconnect which we are talking about, because education is not just about the employment, it is about the economic health, and the social stability. So when the system don't align, what happens? The anxiety rises, productivity falls, and in a nutshell, what is the consequence? The inequality widens up in that particular scrap. So what basically we have to, what that gap is, basically we are looking into that students today are very much assessment savvy. They know how to pass the exams. Like one of the student has said that I know the formula, I know the background of it, but I don't know when to use it, when to apply that particular formula. So this reveals a very uncomfortable truth that we should accept, because high academic performance does not automatically translate into a kind of a workplace readiness. So this is not about, when we are looking into about the weak students, it is about the curricular that we are designed for the certainty in the that is irony, in the world of uncertainty we are bringing up some curriculum that we are looking at. So as an academics we must accept that the gap is systemic and therefore it is very solvable. How this educational has transformed, it has been shifted, that we are looking into, where we were talking about traditionally, if I look into how the education, how the pedagogy has shifted. So traditionally when we look into the education system, it has been focused on content delivery, where we were memorizing all the content and just vomit it at the exam. It was a very traditional, where the you were rewarded for the correct answers more than good questions that you have put in. So this has now in the current scenario, if we look into, there is a shift that we have observed from content to capabilities, where today education must talk about the capability building. Capability, now what basically we are looking into the capability perspective, where we are talking about critical thinking, learning agility, and very important, the ethical judgment that we are talking about. One of the very popular academician, John Dewey, he has said that education is not preparation for life. Education is life itself. So the goal is not to train the students for a single job, but to prepare them for multiple career reinventions that need to be looked into. Now, in that particular perspective, in the current scenario, if we are talking about the pedagogy, the where, and the most drastic innovation that had happened in the current education system that we have talked about, we all know, is AI. Once we talk about AI, we know that students have unprecedented access to AI tools. So they can generate answers instantly, but many have admitted on that particular plan, I can explain the output, but not the process. They know what would be the output, but they don't know what would be the input, how to it is processed. They are not aware about that. So access to answer doesn't equal your understanding. So this forces us to rethink about the assessment. And here the most important part comes with the academic integrity, because academic integrity, when we talk about, as an academician, I never stop my student to not to use AI. The reason being, in terms of AI, when we look into, you can't AI has been used in all the workplaces, so you have to make your student adapt of using the AI. You can't ban that tool. So now what is, as a responsible academician, it is about designing the assessments that require the application, reflection, oral defense, and the contextual reasoning. So AI is not an enemy that we are talking about. It is something that we have to question, that are we assessing what students know, or how they think about it, right? So that is what the question need to be answered when we are talking about the applicability of AI. That was education, the one perspective that I have talked about. Talking about employment, employment has also have changed. So if education is changing, employment is changing even faster and often more unevenly, because employment today is very fragmented, jobs are fluid, roles have become very hybrid, and the careers, if we talk about, it is in a non-linear format. So employers increasingly value your adaptability, communication, ethical reasoning, and learning agility, because all these concepts I have learned when I was having an interaction with one of the employer. He told me that I can teach software, I can talk about software in couple of months that we can discuss, but I cannot teach curiosity in 3 years. So see how change they are talking about. They are talking about that it is easy to teach them a concept in months. But when you talk about the life skills, when you talk about the inner capability, it takes years to make them understand, to train them. So what we are seeing, therefore, is not a skill shortage alone. It is the adaptability gap. So professional identity is shifting from your job titles that we are talking about to a more problem solving capability. And that's what we are looking into, as I have already mentioned, that what do you mean by professional identity, how this professional identity is changing, because professionals, if we talk about, is no longer operating in a solos. So financial professionals must understand technology, marketing people must understand what is finance and the technology, so managers must understand about the data. So and everyone, whether you are finance, you are marketing, you are operation, everyone need to understand people. So it's a kind of interdisciplinary that is we people are working into. So work today is less about task and it is more about solving the unfamiliar problems. So certainty has dissolved, roles have emerged, evolved, and disappear rapidly. So, in such an environment, adaptability is not just about growth, it is about security. So, it is no longer, adaptability is no longer a kind of an option for you, it is your survival that we are talking about. That was basically from the your employability perspective. Now, talking about from the economic side of it, now, definitely in terms of economics, we generally used to say human capital as an input, as a source. But now it is not a source, it's not an input, it's a kind of an infrastructure, because it has a very critical part as a road or as an energy that we are looking into. So, resilient economies depend on adaptable workers that we are looking. Lifelong learning is no longer a kind of a slogan that we are talking about. It is an economic necessity that is the requirement of current economic growth. So it need to be a kind of an inclusive. So inclusive education reduces the skill shortages and it boosts your innovation. So as our famous economist Amartya Sen has already stated that development is about expanding the real freedoms. So inclusion is not about talking about the charity. It is a kind of a smart strategic, a smart economic strategic move. So what is the basically the core, this alignment that I was talking about? In this end, if you look into the central insight is very simple in this. That is education, employment, and economic need to work together. They must evolve together. They can't innovate or they cannot work separately. So when they don't align, what happens? The consequences, the graduates anxiety we can see, from employer perspective the frustration, they are not getting the good human capital, and in the consequence the impact goes to the economy, which is becomes, we have seen, becomes an inefficient. So we must move from a kind of a static degree to a adaptive education, and from job preparation to career resilience. That's why we are looking into the stakeholders and what is the call that we have to talk about, because educators must redesign the content and assessment, because they are the one who are supplying the human capital to the world, to the employers. So they have to redesign the content and the assessment for the real world complexity, because less memorization leads to more thinking, more reflection, and the application based of learning. And from the employer perspective, if you they need to invest in learning, that is, they must see learning as an investment. That's why nowadays, if you see, there are a lot of big MNCs companies, they are coming up with a learning and development department altogether, because they have to understand it's a kind of an investment, not treat it as a cost. So a learning culture creates a resilient organization. And from the policymakers perspective, the imperative is with regard to the coordination. So from education perspective, it is talking about the curriculum and pedagogy. From the perspective of employers, it is talking about the workplace environment. And for the policymakers, it is basically coordination, because policy cannot treat education, labor, and economy as a separate silos. So they need to have to create an alignment for a better future that is inclusive, that is sustainable, and even competitive as well. Right? So because the future where we are talking about will not be defined by how much knowledge we produce, rather how many jobs we have created or how many policies we have write, but how well our systems have aligned to develop the human potential. That is the main crux of this whole scenario that we are into this system. So when you're the shaping a very resilient future, for that, critical thinking and problem solving are basically the foundation of future readiness. So skilled population sustain a strong economies, and adaptability and communication are the real future skills. So when you are talking about educational transformation, you need to understand what kind of skill set, what kind of capabilities you want to deliver to your students, and students will in return will provide to the employers, and they work together for the better economy. So that is the pathway that I have observed with my experience. I have seen that when systems evolve together, disruption is not feared, rather it is shaped. So this is a kind of a shared responsibility. That's why when we are talking about, it's a kind of a collaboration that is required from all the stakeholders, from the academicians, from the employers, and from the policy makers. So a future where individuals thrive and economies prosperous is not accidental, it is that need to be designed. So I basically will end my thought. I will be this my whole presentation, that future of work is not about predicting the jobs, it is about preparing the people. So when education, employment, and economics are aligned, we don't just create jobs, we create the possibilities. Thank you all for listening to me, and I hope uh, definitely you during the RQA round you have some queries or you want to share your thoughts, and which will really help support me and guide me in my academic journey as well, which I can share with my students. So thank you.